Okay. The wave of the hand is a wave of a hand. I see one right there. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, Stacy. Happy Saturday, guys. I sent a little thing. I'm recording this class. I never record my classes, but I've had a couple of students for one reason or another who have said, hey, do you have any recorded classes? So I'm going to record a couple, but I'm not building any library or anything like that. If I was going to do that, I should have done it a year and a half ago. I think I'd have, 500 classes by now. But I like seeing you guys live, but this is a student who, she's had a kid and her schedule is just crazy and she's taken my class a million times. So anyway, that's where we are. So I may do a couple of these, but I won't have this preamble all the time. Today's class, our theme, if we have to have a theme, lengthening, right? I think one of the amazing things about yoga is it's like the only physical activity, you probably have an exception that you can think of, where you actually can get taller, where you can create, other than living on a space station. If you lived on a space station, you actually get taller. Astronauts come back after exposed extended periods of time because there's a lack of gravity, and so your spine can decompress. But other than living on a space station, having a pretty consistent yoga practice can get you taller, can lengthen you. I know I did get taller, even though I started practicing whatever it was 10, 12 years ago, however long, more than that. But I got a little bit taller, spine gets a little bit longer. So we're gonna be lengthening a little bit. That doesn't mean anything other than we're gonna be doing postures and some movement around that. So if you don't wanna get if you don't wanna get any taller or longer, great. It's a good thing, especially for me on my weekends where I've got 4 college football games recording and I'm watching a ton tomorrow, so I'm sitting around a whole lot. So it's nice to kind of get yourself ready for that or undo if you've been sitting at the desk all week or driving or all those kinds of things. Okay, you're going to need a block or two. I'd like to have those handy. If you don't, you're missing out on a whole world of experience. But we'll get started on our back and do have one of those blocks nearby. I did what we're going to be doing a couple of times this week in class, and it was kind of fun. Everything else sucked, but that was kind of fun. So just comfortable position on your back, just to kind of settle in, let go. I'm actually going to bring that block behind the back of my head on the medium setting, so I can just kind of let my neck hammock down. I'm just letting this space, just the upper spine, just kind of drop towards the floor. So if you want, you can turn it to the lowest setting and do that. But I like this medium setting here because I also, even if you can kind of balance it at an angle, a little bit, the block, depending on the type of block you have on its edge, then you get the yummy edge of the block right at the base of the occipital lobe, right at the base of your skull. And you can kind of yes your chin a little bit and even roll it from side to side a little bit. It's kind of like when you're getting shampoo at the salon, right? That was a thing. And just kind of sitting in that special sink here, which is kind of, if you do have that edge and it feels yummy, even if you don't, even if it's kind of flat, you can just roll your head around a little bit, get this kneading with a K action going here. But the block underneath the head, the knees bent to take any compression out. If you've got your legs straight and your knees are okay, awesome. If you've got a prop underneath it, fabulous. And your arms are doing absolutely nothing. I could stay here all class. So just dropping this from side to side as if you're watching a slow tennis rally, back and forth. Nice. And as you allow yourself to just kind of be heavy here and let gravity grab a hold of you, just keeping an open awareness to anything interesting that's happening with your body this morning. Any extra pain, any extra throbbing you feel going on here, or everything is about the same. Nice. And then bringing your head back towards center, take a deep inhale here. Big open mouth exhale, sigh it out. 2 more times, just like that. Inhaling all the way to the top. And exhaling, sigh it out. Nice, guys. One more time, just like that. Inhale all the way to the top. Hold this one in. Sip in a little bit more air. And maybe turn on your vocal cords. And sigh it out. Nice. Keep everything else the same. Just interlace your fingers. Take your hands up towards the ceiling. Flip your palms to the ceiling. And on an exhale, begin to take your hands overhead behind you towards the back of the room. You can keep your head on the block or remove it, depending on how this all feels. But just softening your shoulders here, continuing to relax your neck as you get a little bit more space through the shoulders. Nice. Take one more full inhale. And one more exhale. Let's take those arms straight back up towards the ceiling and then release them down alongside your body. Go ahead and take your block. Bring it in between your knees, just above the knees on your thighs, and you can release your head towards, back down towards the floor. Take a rolled up blanket. So knees are bent. We just got that block resting comfortably there. Bring the block in towards your chest, your knees in towards your chest. Interlace your fingers on your shins if you can. So you get a little bit of a compression. If you can't interlace your fingers, just hook your hands onto your shins. But if you can interlace your fingers on your shins, great. So you're kind of squeezing into that block. And you should feel your sits bones open up a little bit. So sort of this widening across the base of your pelvic floor here. And maybe your toes and insides of your feet are touching, and maybe they're not. Nice. Take one more inhale here, and then keeping the block where it is, just release your hands and then straighten your legs up towards the sky. Arms can rest alongside your body. Inner thigh as dispenser, shooting the block out towards the front of the room. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, feet on towards the floor. Inhale, press into your feet and lift your hips towards the ceiling. Exhale, lower the hips back down towards the ground. Inhale, straighten the legs up towards the ceiling. Exhale, lower them back down towards the floor. Inhale, press into your feet, hips lift. Exhale and lower. And just continue this little shift in movement following your breath. It's almost like you just decided to start breathing a little bit more mindfully, and then you've dropped in this movement, right? Just adding layers. If you'd like to, you can, as you take your legs up, reach your fingertips towards the ceiling. Give me a U. And then on the exhale, arms lower and feet lower. And then inhale, sweep the arms overhead behind you as you take this bridge lift, and then lowering yourself back down. And again, feet lift, maybe your hands, fingertips lift. Exhale, lower. Hips lift, maybe arms sweep, palms face one another. Exhale, lower. And all the time, being mindful of the block, squeezing into the block. Nice, guys. And take one more round of those. And then we'll meet hips on the floor. Settle the block off to the side. Just put it there for a moment. Nice. Get nice and long as you straighten your legs. Hook your thumbs, find your little butterfly, as I say, and then take the hands overhead behind you, getting very, very long here, and then kind of turn yourself into a canoe a little bit, as if you could take your center line of your body and push that down towards the floor, and then the outer edges of your body up towards the ceiling, hollowing yourself out. And you're continuing to point through the toes, drive through the heels, spread your toes out nice and wide, reaching your fingertips to the back of the room, but keeping your shoulders nice and soft. One more inhale here. Exhale, knees hug in towards your chest, this time without the block. Let's rock back and forth from side to side, cross one ankle on top of the other. And then change and then cross over ankles, the other one on top. Nice. And then draw some circles on the ceiling with your knees moving away from one another and back in towards one another. And changing directions. Okay. So this next sort of movement is really about opening up this midsection, your abdominals, kind of finding this stretch, and then this contraction where you're using your core muscles to bring you to center. And if you did this with me earlier this week in any of the classes I did this in, you probably felt this great expansion or yummy stretch through your core, and those muscles were kind of tired from doing this, which is always good. The strengthening of your core muscles to support your back and obviously your front side. Okay. So you're going to reach your arms overhead behind you and your legs straight out in front of you. That's your extension. And the compression is going to bringing your knees in towards your chest and your forehead toward your knees and your arms forward with your palms facing up. Yeah, nice. And then arms overhead behind you. Your head can rest on the floor or it can float. Your heels can rest or they can float. So finding that canoe again, and then exhale, reaching forward. Okay. And we're just going to continue that a few times. Find this length and reaching forward, and then finding your length on the inhale. Exhale, reaching forward, looking nice. We'll do 3 more of those. Inhale, length. Exhale, compress. Inhale, length. Exhale, compress. 1 more of those. Inhale, length. Exhale, compress. Nice. Land your feet on the floor. And then sort of just check in with your body. So for instance, if your tailbone's a little bit sensitive for whatever reason, slide a blanket underneath that. If that just sort of grinding down onto the floor is a little much, depending on how thick your yoga mat is and what's underneath. So just kind of take care of yourself. Okay, we're going to do that again. This time, if you'd like to, or even if you don't want to, but you're like, all right, I will, grab a block. Okay, and we're going to take that block in between our hands. And you'll have to kind of manipulate it a little bit, but I'm taking it the wide way with my hands on the outside. My arms are going to reach overhead behind me. Legs are nice and straight. This time, as you exhale and bring it in, kind of give the block to your feet. Okay, then squeeze the block and take it towards the edge of your mat, right? And then bring it in, grab the block with your hands, and then take the arms overhead behind you. And then again, exhale, feed your feet the block. Squeeze the block with your feet, extend, and coming back in. So you're staying a little bit longer, and it's requiring you to use some different muscles, especially in your feet. Okay? About 5 more of those. Send the legs away, back in, just following your breath. Couple more. Last one. Nice. Land your feet on the floor, take that block, bring it underneath your hips, and settle your hips down towards the ground. Nice. Keep your legs as is, or maybe start to slide your heels away from you, depending on how that all feels, but beginning to open up psoas in this hip flexor space. Tops of your quads a little bit. Nice, guys. Take 1 more inhale here. And 1 more exhale. Take your time as you rebend your knees, lift your hips, set the block off to a side, and then meet me in tabletop position, hands and knees, if you would. Rock your way up if that feels good. Okay. All right. So from your hands and knees, we're going to drop down into a child's pose. So find all this space in your low back. Arms extend, knees wide for this one here, as you just kind of drop in towards the floor, let your forehead rest. Actively push the floor away. Float your forearms off the ground. and be sure your arms are plugged in towards your shoulder sockets. So just a few rounds of breath here, always just to remind you that just dropping into hotel child's pose is a choice. One more inhale. And one more exhale. Nice. Okay, so walk your hands in towards you a little bit, and then bring your knees a little bit closer towards one another, but it's kind of just like you're closing the angle a little bit. Okay? Sit back on your heels, and then direct your ribs and belly out and over your left thigh, and drop down into this variation of a child's pose. Your forehead won't touch the floor, but you'll get this compression that you'll feel as you push down towards the floor, and then that ricochet as that all pushes up towards the ceiling. And maybe you walk your hands over a little bit more to the left as you pull your right sit bone back towards your right heel. And then back towards center. Set yourself up for the other side. So kind of lift, direct the center of yourself over your right thigh and melt towards the floor. Reaching through your left fingertips. Full deep inhales and full exhales. Couple more rounds of breath here. Excuse me. Drawing that left sit bone back towards the left heel. Maybe puts your hand a little bit more over to the right. Beautiful. And then come back to center. Okay. Come in that tabletop position, tuck your toes under, drive one heel back in space. And then switch it out. Opposite. Extend legs, leg extends, and the opposite knee on the floor. Nice, guys. And then tabletop position, hands and knees with your toes tucked or untucked. Just some yummy hip circles here, just to kind of add some movement into this space. And getting in your shoulders a little bit by just kind of melting your heart in between your shoulders and then pushing your upper back towards the ceiling. And just kind of make it feel good. Head can drop. Throw some cows and cats in there if you'd like to. Nice. Fabulous. From here, step back to plank. Holding your plank, whether you've got knees lifted or lowered. So if you have your knees lowered, they're slightly further back in space than they would be if you had just your box shape of a tabletop position. Nice. One more round of breath here, and then inhale, come forward. Exhale, lower yourself down to the ground. Shoulder opener. Take your left arm out to the side, straight out to the side. Rest on your left side of your head, and then roll over onto your left hip and plant your right foot behind your knee. Options, if you want to dial it down, flip your left palm to face up. If you want to deepen this one, lots of options to take. You can bend the left knee. You can reach that right arm behind you, maybe clasp fingers, but otherwise just kind of keep it where it feels about right. But just lengthening across your chest. I've popped up on these right fingertips. Take one more inhale. And one more exhale. Switch it out. Left fingertips in line with your left armpit. Turn your head to the right. And roll over onto that right hip and plant your left foot behind you, pointing the knee toward the ceiling or letting it fall towards the wall behind you. And then any of those variations that feel about right here. Be sure your head's resting on the floor, that there's no strain in your neck. One more deep inhale. And one more exhale. Nice. And then from here, rolling back down. Come into Sphinx. So just defining our terms, our Sphinx is shoulders stacked on top of our elbows. Palms face down, forearms are parallel towards one another. Pull your heart through. Take a deep full inhale here, and on the exhale, just peel your belly, ribs, and thighs off the floor. And keep your knees down. And then inhale, drop thighs, hips, belly, ribs. Take your gaze forward. Exhale, peel off the floor. 3 more of those. Your inhale, your exhale. Couple more options to keeping the tops of the feet, but do lift the knees off the floor if you'd like to. And you can always tuck the toes under also and lift away from the floor. Nice. Come back to your Sphinx and then transition into a Cobra pose. Hands right alongside your bottom ribs, your elbows pretty much stacked on top of your wrists. Squeeze your elbows, pull your heart forward. Choose to stay here. You can kind of take a lazy up dog with your knees grounded or even full up dog, depending on what you like. And then hips up, back down. For this down dog, let's find that length that we're looking for here by actually shortening our dog a little bit so that we can get the knees down, the heels down toward the floor. So if you have to walk it in, your feet or your hands, do so. Arms straight and strong, legs straight and strong, but pushing your heels towards the floor. And then imagine that you've got someone placing a strap across your hips like a seatbelt, and then pulling that strap back, getting a little bit more length. Take one more inhale here and one more exhale. So if you like, choose to stay here. Some of you may reach your left arm across your right leg, kind of stabilizing that right shoulder. And then switch it out. Left hand plants, right arm reaches across. Nice, and then coming back to that shortened dog. And then walk your hands back towards your feet, but keeping this nice wide-legged stance here, and then hinge and fold, drop down and towards the floor. And shake your head no, and nod your head yes. Shift your weight into your heels and into the balls of your feet, but push the floor away. Nice. Okay, from here, left hand's gonna plant on the floor, whether it's fingertips or not, pretty much right underneath your nose on the ground. Right hand, you can bring it to the hip. Open little twist to the right. Maybe you take that right arm up towards the sky. If it feels like your shoulder shoving it in your ear, probably is, in which case, keep the hand on the hip or even bind. One more inhale here. Exhale and release. Take that to the other side. Palm of the hand on the floor, right hand this time, or pop up onto your fingertips, whichever gives you the sense of that flat back. Then float the arm out and twist, or hand to hip, or bind it. Hips want to kind of ping to the left, so palm them back to the right a little bit and tack that right hip back. One more deep inhale. And exhale and release. Heel toe your feet towards one another. Shift your weight into your left foot and sweep your right leg behind your left as if you put your feet on backwards this morning. So both sets of toes are in front of one another, are pointing the same direction, and then just hinge and fold in this place. So my left leg's in front of my right, and I'm opening up this right side, giving that IT and a little hamstring, of course. Length, 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 push into the floor with your feet, maybe lift your hips a little bit higher. Nice. And then bring the right foot back to meet where you started from, your legs on correctly. And let's take it to the other side. So right foot stays here, sweep that left leg behind you. The right knee in front of the left. Don't lock it out, hinge and one more inhale here. And one more exhale. Unravel your legs. And then ragdoll your way up towards standing, pushing your feet. Nice. Reach your arms up overhead. I'm just going to turn to face you guys. Staying at the back of your yoga mat. Right hand's going to grab your left arm, come up and over into the side stretch here. So drop that left sit bone down towards the floor. Push into your left foot. And breathe. And then on an inhale, press down to rise up and switch it out. Reaching those right fingertips to the sidewall. Nice. And then press down, rise up. At the back of your mat, just hinge and fold. So if you want a little support, you can slide your hands down the fronts of your legs all the way towards the floor. And then we're going to walk ourselves into a plank. And then from this plank, walk your feet up towards your hands. So you're now folding at the front of your yoga mat. Come halfway up to a flat back. Length, 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 length. Hands press into the shins or maybe fingertips to the floor. I like the hands on the shins because I want to get that real kind of L shape. It's not an L, 7 shape. I'm not sure what this shape is. One more inhale here. Exhale, hinge and fold. Left foot stays here. Let's step the right foot way to the back of the mat. And drop that right knee down towards the floor. Untuck or tuck your back toes under. And then bring your hands to the top of your left thigh. And push down. And then keep all that length and sweep your arms up overhead. Big quad stretch in that right side. Hips sink. Look up. Maybe look back. One more inhale. Exhale. Right hand down. Let's add a twist here. So planting into that left foot. Take the left arm up toward the sky. If you'd like to, stay here. If you prefer, tuck those right toes under, lift the right knee off the floor as you come into this twist. One more deep inhale. Exhale, release the twist, come into a lunge. So knee lifts off the floor in case it's still there. Nice and long in this lunge, pulling that left hip back, push the floor away, maybe float your arms alongside your body or even alongside your ears. You take one more inhale. Exhale, hands to earth. So we're gonna take a 3-legged dog here. Push the floor away, send your left leg up and back, bend the knee and stack the hips. Nice. And then from here, we're gonna take that left leg, sweep it straight out to the side, zip, land the foot on the floor and lower down to the ground. Come into your Sphinx with that left leg out. One more inhale. And one more exhale. Bring that left leg back from your Sphinx. Transition to Cobra, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Deep inhale through the nose and an exhale out of the mouth. Okay, from your down dog, walk your feet up towards your hands and fold. Press into your feet, rise up, reach up, look up. That side stretch, right hand grabs your left wrist, come up and over. And back down, rise up, reach up and over. And press down, rise up, hinge and fold, all the way down to the floor. Come up that halfway flat back here. Extend nice and long. Right foot's gonna stay here. Step your left foot back. Big step back. Drop that back knee down towards the floor. Untuck your toes. Hands onto the thigh. First, push to find all that lift. And then keep that as the arms sweep up overhead. Reach through your fingertips. Breathe into this space. Maybe lift a little bit higher for one more inhale. Exhale, hands to floor. Twist from here. Right arm swings up towards the sky. And of course, if you'd like to, tuck the back toes under. Reach and breathe. Full inhales and full exhales. One more cycle of breath. Exhale, release that twist. And then if your knee's still grounded, lift it as you come into this lunge. Hip draws in and under. Push the floor away. Again, arms can stay where they were. Float alongside the body or alongside your ears. One more inhale. Exhale, hands to earth. So pushing the floor away, send that right leg up and back, bend the knee and stack the hips. And then take that right leg straight out to the side. Zoom. Right leg stays straight, lower yourself down to the floor. Pull into that Sphinx pose. Pretty intense opening through that right hip, right? Melting that right hip towards the ground. One more inhale. And one more exhale. Bring that right leg back to meet the left. From your Sphinx, transition Cobra, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Left leg rises to the sky. Bring that left foot up between the hands. And drop your back knee down to the ground. Okay, so grab your blocks. Hopefully they're nearby. And bring them to the highest setting. You may drop them down a level, but bring them to the highest setting right in line with your hips. Okay, so we've got that back knee down towards the floor. We had our hands on our thighs before. This time, bring your hands to your blocks, however you want to, fingertips, sink your hips, push into the blocks, and lift your heart. If you're really open and your hips are really open, you may be able to flop those blocks down a level. But just push into the blocks as you continue to sink the hips for one more inhale. And one more exhale. Nice, guys. Move the blocks off to the side. Bring that right elbow to the outside of your left thigh. So we're taking another twist here, a little bit deeper. Hands to heart center. Feel free to lift that back knee off the floor if you'd like to. Full deep inhales. And full exhale. Nice, guys. One more cycle of breath here. Beautiful. Let's release that twist. Stepping back to a side plank on our right side. If you know where you're going with it, go ahead and take it. Otherwise, one variation is my right knee stays down and I step my left foot back. Left arm reaches up and over. Any variation you want to take here, feel free to. One variation, if you've got that right knee down, is almost like you're setting up for a thread the needle. Bring your right ankle on top of your left thigh and keeping that right knee on the ground. It's kind of a fun variation with this one. If you can also lift the knee off the floor. One more inhale here. Exhale. Release the hands coming into a plank. Inhale, come forward. You can always keep that right knee grounded. Float your left leg. Exhale, lower to the floor. Untuck your toes, pull your heart through. Exhale, send your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Okay. You guys have all been practicing long enough, practicing with me, practicing elsewhere, other, whatever. There's lots of variations you can throw in. So if you find something you're like, let me add a little relish on this, go for it, right? Okay. From your down dog, left leg, let's send it up and back. Look up between your hands. Bring the foot forward, drop the right knee down towards the ground. So again, blocks pretty much in line with the hips. Sink your hips down and forward. Push into the blocks and lift your heart. Push into the blocks, lift your heart, sink your hips. Maybe even look up from here. And again, back toes tucked or untucked, whatever works for you. I like them untucked. One more inhale. I'm sorry, guys. I want to make sure your right foot is forward. I've got my left foot forward, so I may have said the wrong side. So we want that right foot forward. Let's switch it up. Some of you guys may have already corrected that at home, but we're doing the other side. Okay. So right foot forward again, blocks underneath. We'll fix that in post. Hips lift, push the floor away. Hips sink, heart lifts. Pushing into the blocks for one more inhale. And one more exhale. Nice. Blocks off to the side, that left elbow to the outside of your right thigh. Kind of put some things around and find your twist here. Any variations you want to take with this one, please do. Otherwise, continuing to sink into this one. Back knee can lift or stay grounded. For one more inhale. And one more exhale. Beautiful. Release your twist, stepping back to your side plank here. And again, you can step it right back, planting into that left hand, bring that right foot to meet the left, opening up. But if you took that variation before, it's the left knee down and then the right foot back. And if you'd like to, staying on that left knee, kind of bring that left foot, left ankle on top of your right thigh. As if you're threading a little bit of balance here. One more inhale. Exhale, release. Square your hips and ribs to the floor. You can keep that left knee grounded for those of you there. And take the vinyasa by floating your right leg floats. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, lower down. Just kind of dive down, duck underneath. Send your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Walk your feet up towards your hands once again. Maybe pop up onto fingertips first and then walk your way up and fold. Let's slide the palms of the hands underneath the soles of the feet and get a little hand-foot bind. Counterpose the wrists and get a little bit more length through the middle of the spine. One more inhale here. And one more exhale. Nice. Slide those hands out from underneath. Pop up to a flat back heel. So your left foot to the left and your right foot to the right. So get a little bit wider. And then bring your fingertips down in line with your toes, but between your hands. Okay. Left foot's going to stay here. Step your right foot back and come into this lizard pose here. So you're up on your fingertips if you started on your fingertips, but feel free to come down onto your forearms or just the palms of your hands. You can even drop that back knee down towards the ground. But pulling that left hip back in space. Full deep inhales and full exhales. One more round of breath here. And then we're going to step back to a plank and come down to our forearms. And then from here, roll to the outside edge of your right foot and onto your right forearm. So my shoulders stacked on top of my right elbow. I've got my right forearm at a 45-degree angle as I come into this forearm side plank from here. Top arm can stay up. You can also drop this hip down. Here for 3 breaths. If you'd like to inhale here, exhale, weave that left arm underneath your right ribs, and then open it up again, and weave underneath. Open it up, and weave underneath, and then open it up. And now stay here, but just lower the right hip down towards the ground. Bring that right forearm now parallel with the front edge of your yoga mat and hammock your ribs down towards the floor. So you're just getting this yummy stretch. Stay here, except bend your left knee. The knee stays stacked, and with your left hand, grab the top of your left foot. Get a little bit more of this thigh stretch. Choose to stay here, or you can even open this left knee out towards 5, 4, 3 o'clock, getting a little bit deeper of a stretch. Nice, guys. One more inhale here. Exhale, bring that left knee back to stack on top of the right. Straighten both legs. Come back into your forearm. Your sphinx. And then keeping the lift of your heart, transition to cobra. Hips up and back, downward facing dog. So we're going to make our way to the front of the yoga mat. If it's available to you, you can either walk, but maybe take your feet a little bit, your hands a little bit closer towards one another, and you're going to hop your way up towards Malasana, bringing your feet to the outsides of your hands. Make your way there. If you didn't hop your way up, meet me in Malasana. So toes are turned slightly out, not way too out, but pretty much knees in line with second and third toe. Squeeze your elbows, lift your heart. Take one more inhale here. Exhale, hands to earth, straighten the legs, and then turn your toes forward. Come halfway up to that flat back. Exhale, hinge and fold. Nice, guys. Ragdoll or reach up, rise up. Our side stretch, right hand grabs left forearm, come up and over, and back through center, and up and over, and back through center, hinge and fold all the way down to the floor. Okay, feet widen a little bit so that you can bring your fingertips in between your toes. Once again, this time right foot stays here. Step your left foot back. So stepping back into that lizard and finding its mirror buddy from the other side, whether that back knee is lifted or lowered, whether you stay up on forearms or not. Hips are going to want to kind of drop down because that's the nature of gravity. Lift them slightly higher by lifting at sort of the base of your hamstring, kind of right where it attaches into your glute. Take one more round of breath here. Nice. And then we meet on our forearms. So step back to your plank, down to your forearms. Have this forearm plank where your shoulders are on top of your elbows and your hands are either pressing into one another, you've got interlace or whatever. And then we're going to roll to the outside of our left foot, stack or drop or any modification you want to take, and then take that right arm up towards the sky. So that forearm still at that 45-degree angle. Reach up, stay here, weave underneath. Inhale, open up. Exhale, weave. Inhale, open up. Exhale, weave. Inhale, open up, and then lower the left hip toward the ground. Bring that left forearm now to parallel with the short edge of your mat. And just letting these left ribs kind of hammock down, those yummy stretch for the intercostals from here. Knee stays stacked. I'm going to bend this right knee with my right hand. Reach behind me to the top of that right foot or shin. And then choose to stay here with that knee pointing straight towards 6 o'clock, or open it up 7, 8, towards 9. But find what works for you. And just breathe into this big psoas stretch here. For one more inhale. And okay, bring the knees to stack, straighten the legs, roll back into your Sphinx pose. Forearms parallel once again. And then keeping the lift of your head and heart, transition to Cobra, hips up and back, whether you transition down dog or not. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth. Okay, once again, bring your hands a little bit closer together. Travel your weight and meet me in Malasana. Again, it can be a couple of hops. 1 and 2. Plonk. Heart lift, hips sink, squeeze your elbows into your knees and your knees in towards your elbows. Pull up from your pelvic floor. One more inhale here. Exhale, hands are straighten the legs. Turn your toes forward. Hinge and fold. Nice, guys. This time, peace fingers underneath your big toes. Tips of the thumbs on the head of your big toes. Lift your heart. Pull that heart forward. Maybe straighten the legs to the degree that works for you. And then draw yourself in towards yourself. Maybe bending your elbows up to the side if you've got that space. Release those big toes. Ragdoll. Or reach up, rise up, side stretch. One hand grabs the opposite forearm, up and over, and back through center, and up and over, and back through center. Widen your feet, interlace your fingers behind your back with the opposite thumb on top, your funky way, funky grip. Lift your heart, take a deep inhale here, exhale, hinge and fold. Reach your knuckles towards the ceiling even as you continue to melt your chest on towards your thighs. One more cycle of breath here, and then stay folded. Just release your hands to the floor. Left foot's going to stay here. Step your right foot back. Maybe you grab your blocks. We're going to straighten the front leg. Pull the toes of the left foot back towards the shin and try to drive that right heel down towards the floor. So it's a little bit different than a pyramid pose where we would have both feet standing or grounded, I should say, but drive that right heel, get a little bit more space through the calf, and see if you can pull those left toes back towards you by using the muscles right in your hip and groin. Just kind of going, pull that back up. Got it? One more round of breath here, and then we're going to plant that left foot and come into a standing splits. Hands will stay grounded. Maybe it's your standing L pose. Maybe you lift a little bit higher and melt a little bit deeper. Nice, guys. And then from here, right foot's going to step back, land on the floor, rise up into a crescent pose. Reach up, sink into it, open up a warrior two. Shoulders stack on top of the hips. Float your arms away, reach to your fingertips. And take one more inhale, exhale, hands to earth. Step back plank. Vinyasa or skip it. Maybe you hover this left leg off of the floor as you take this. From down dog, travel to the front of the mat. Lots of little steps or big steps, hops, whatever work for you. Inhale, flat back, exhale, full. Press down, rise up, side stretch once again. Maybe switch out the order, take it to the other side first. And back through center. Rise up. Once again, hands behind the back, regular grip, unless you want to do it the awkward way. Widen your stance to accommodate your ribs between your thighs. It's kind of how I like to take it. And then you get the ribs on your thighs. And open up. One more deep inhale. Exhale, hands to earth. Right foot's going to stay here. Step your left foot back. I'm grabbing my blocks. Rock back on your right heel. So drive your left heel towards the floor. Pull your right toes back towards the shin. Do it right from your the right hip and kind of those groin muscles, right? You just kind of feel that. Press through that left heel, get all of that space. One more deep inhale here. Flatten that back. Exhale, rebend the front knee. Take this into your standing L pose. So hips neutral or melt your chest towards your right thigh. It's just an intention of taking that left leg higher. In your standing splits for one more inhale. Nice. And then we send that left foot way back. Rise up, crescent pose. Reach up, square the hips and ribs. Find your balance. Open up warrior two. Heel to heel, heel arch alignment. Widen it, whatever feels good. Sink into it. Drive that right knee forward. Anchor down through the back. Stay in the present in the center. Nice, guys. One more inhale here. Exhale, hands to earth. Pivot on the ball of that back foot. If you want to take that vinyasa, maybe you hover your right leg above the floor. You come forward. Both legs equally strong if you're hovering. Hips up and back. Down dog. Come right into a dolphin. Boink. So you're in your down dog, you just come down onto your forearms. So this lengthen down dog here, maybe you walk your feet in a little bit. And maybe walk them in a little bit more. Keep pushing the floor away. Keeping that smile on your face. Maybe it's a little bit closer in. For one more inhale, exhale, lower to your knees, sit back on your heels. So if need be, grab a block to bring underneath your hips. To sit yourself down, tops of the feet, heels out. But if you've got Vajrasana or Virasana, you can sit right there, stay there. Okay. Some easy, loose shoulder space here. Sweep your right arm back and behind you, hook it into your left elbow crease if that's available to you. And then just letting your left ear slightly fall towards the left shoulder. Tuck your chin towards your right shoulder. Lift your chin. And then release that, shake it out. Let's come to the other side. Left arm sweeps behind you. Hook the fingers into your right elbow crease. Palm faces up. Let your right ear fall to the side and then lift and tuck. And lift and tuck. And lift and tuck. Nice, guys. Release that. Roll your shoulders out. Extend your legs out in front of you. Waggle out your toes. Straighten your legs. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, extend out. One seated forward fold here. Hold on to what you can. Draw your heart towards your feet. Extend through your inner arch and breathe. Feel your sit bones kind of sliding back as you continue to send your heart forward. For one more inhale. And one more exhale. Nice. From here, rebend the knees. Arms extend out in front of you. We're going to lower halfway and then pull yourself back. Halfway, pull yourself back. Halfway, pull yourself back up. Again, doesn't feel good, add a blanket or don't do these, right? You can also float the feet and pull our way up, and extend the legs and pull the way up, and lower to Ardha Navasana and pull up. About 10 more of whatever you're doing here, right? And again, you can keep them as simple as just little chugs or as dramatic as finding your canoe and then coming back up. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice, guys. From here, just giving yourself a hug and a squeeze as you bring your knees in toward your chest and your chest toward your thighs. And then all the way down onto your backs. Straighten your legs, get nice and long. Hug your left knee in towards your left armpit, give it a squeeze. Sweep the knee across your body, coming into a supine twist. Take your gaze wherever it feels like it needs to go. That left knee out towards 9 o'clock. Soften the left shoulder down towards the floor. Nice. And then from here, guys, take your left heel, kind of wedge it between your right thigh and the floor, okay? We're going to transition into a thread the needle from here. So roll back onto your backs, get your hips in the middle of the mat, and then draw that right knee in. So if you've got your figure 4 ready to go. If it didn't go out that smoothly, just adjust it so it feels right. Toes of the left foot pull back towards your shin. Keep sending your left heel, hip and knee away from you. One more inhale here. And exhale, release, bicycle pedal that left leg out. Right foot stays on the floor with the knee bent. And then send that left leg way away from you, nice and straight. Hug your right knee in towards your right armpit. Inhale here, the left hand sweeps the knee across your body. Bump your hips to the right. Let that right arm just drape out to the side. And breathe. Just feel that breath wrapping around your spine. One more inhale here. Bring that right heel, wedge it between your left thigh and the floor. So the inside edge of that right foot's now pressing onto the floor. And we stay for another breath. And then we roll onto our backs. And you're right in position for your thread the needle. Just get your hips in the middle of the mat. Left knee comes in towards your left shoulder. You can also just stay with the ankle on top of the thigh. And breathe. And full inhales. And full exhales. Take one more cycle of your breath here, guys. Exhale and release whatever you've been clasping. Bicycle pedal the leg out. Land your feet on the floor with knees bent, feet nice and wide. A few windshield wipers here, back and forth from side to side. And then come into a bridge pose. So feet hips distance apart, press into the floor, send your hips towards the ceiling. Arms can stay alongside the body or any variation, robot arms, just press into the backs of the arms, lift the tips of your shoulder blades away from the floor. And then if you want to, you can straighten the arms, interlace your fingers, and then shimmy to kind of tuck your outer upper arms underneath you. Press into your feet, relax your glutes, send your chest towards your chin and your chin away from your chest. A little bit longer through the spine, find that length we've been kind of harping on all morning. For one more cycle of breath, exhale, get your shoulders out from underneath and stripe your spine back down from top to bottom. Nice, guys. Beautiful. From here, any finishing pose that feels good to you. It's nice to undo your bridge with an easy twist. We just did one, but maybe just kind of stack your legs and drop them from side to side. And then anything further that suits you here, if you want to take a fish pose with your legs nice and straight, hands down, tuck your thumbs underneath your glutes, elbows in, and then popping onto the top of your head. Open up, get some space in these upper chakras, opening up your heart and your throat. And whatever works for you here once you've lowered yourself back down. A final hug of the knees in, whatever you need to kind of move your way into your Shavasana. Props underneath you, props on top of you, props off to the side. Just dropping yourself in and letting go. And let your next breath be deeper than the last. A long, deep inhale through your nose. An easy sigh of the exhale. Add a little bit of movement of the body, wiggling your fingers, your toes, your wrists, and your ankles. If it feels right, reach your arms overhead, reach behind you, stretch from tip to tip. And maybe you'll bend your knees and roll to one side, pause there and press your way up. Or if you'd like to, rock your way up towards a seated position that feels good to you. However you get there, sit tall once you arrive, put your sit bones in towards the floor, crown of the head towards the ceiling. Bring your palms a touch in front of your heart, bow down and towards yourself. Seal in this practice. Take all this space and length on the rest of your day, the rest of the weekend. Thank yourself for showing up on your mat, your fellow yogis for sharing this space, and I thank you guys for coming out as well. Light and life in me honors and recognizes light and life in you. Namaste. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matt. That's
Have a great rest of the day.
That's just what the doctor ordered. It was perfect.